what would be kind of your favorite way to watch this movie? And this is an interesting one. Obviously, Matthew doesn't have a favorite way to watch this movie. um, Welcome to another episode of the Popcorn in the Face podcast. Today, we have another movie night episode for you, and we will be discussing American Psycho. Like we have in previous episodes, we will start with a quick synopsis of the movie, dive into some facts about the movie, and then we'll do our usual categories and then end with some open discussion. All right, let's dive in. Set in the late 1980s in New York City, horror comedy American Psycho unfolds within the flashy, status driven world of corporate finance, where image, wealth, competition, and success are everything. The movie follows Christian Bale's character, Patrick Bateman, a wealthy investment banker who seems to have it all. He's rich, handsome, has good style, and a perfectly curated lifestyle. He spends his time obsessing over appearances, whether it's his intense morning routine, designer clothes, or securing reservations at the trendiest restaurants. At the time we meet him, he's engaged to Evelyn Williams, played by Reese Witherspoon, and surrounded by shallow, status-obsessed colleagues, including Paul Allen, played by Jared Leto. But beneath this seemingly perfect life, Bateman is deeply unstable and secretly a violent serial killer. Even small things like comparing business cards trigger a jealousy that drives him towards violent acts. As he continues killing coworkers, strangers, and others in increasingly disturbing ways, Detective Donald Kimball, played by Willem Dafoe, begins looking into one of the disappearances, though Bateman is never directly caught. As the story goes on, Bateman starts to lose his grip on reality. His actions become more erratic, and it's hard to tell what's real and what might be in his head. In the end, he even tries to confess to his crimes, but no one takes him seriously. The film closes on an unsettling note, suggesting that whether he likes it or not, Patrick Bateman will continue living his empty, consequence-free life where even his darkest secrets don't seem to matter to anyone around him. All right, a couple of quick facts about this movie. This movie was released on April 14th, 2000, and it had a budget of $7 million and grossed over $34 million worldwide. It was directed by Mary Harron, and the screenplay was by Mary Harron and Guinevere Turner. And the story is based on the 1991 novel by Bret Easton Ellis. Like I mentioned, the movie stars Christian Bale, Reese Witherspoon, Jared Leto, Willem Dafoe, and then additional cast members include Justin Theroux, Josh Lucas, Bill Sage, Chloe Sevigny, Samantha Mathis, and Matt Ross. So now we will dive in to our relationship with this movie. First watch experience, really just any thoughts that we kind of have on the movie. I can go first just because this is one of my all-time favorite movies. So I watched this movie for the first time. I believe I was in like early-ish high school during a time when I was kind of working my way through all of the classics, all the popular movies. And honestly, I absolutely fell in love with this movie. It is just so absurd. I love ambiguous endings to movies. The writing I felt was just over the top hilarious. I really just love everything about this movie. I feel like they did such a good job immersing you into this world and telling you everything you need to know about these horrible men in such a quick and smart way. This movie, it really was like kind of one of the early movies that got me into the comedy horror genre, which is one of my favorite genres. Also, Christian Bale is absolutely amazing in this. And just to think that he's 27 years old. I'm like, I'm 26, 27 years old. And to think that he's just like, it's just crazy. I can't even like wrap my head around a world where I'm the same age as Christian Bale in this movie. But yeah, basically obsessed with this movie. I think that it's everything that it thinks it is. I think it's properly rated. I know a lot of people probably think it's overrated, but I absolutely love it. So all of that being said, Matthew, I know this was your first time watching the movie and we have not talked about it yet. And I'm absolutely dying to know what your thoughts are as someone who hates the horror genre and probably hates movies like this. So I'll kick it over to you.
Oh man, I don't want to hurt your feelings. I don't
No,
want to
no,
shit
I
on
didn't make
all
the
your favorite
movie.
movies. You have free reign to shit on anything I love. Oh, okay. Well, first of all, this was my very first time viewing this movie, which I think you just kind of hinted at. So 2026. I've heard about this movie a million times. It is just so kind of built into, really famous classic American films, even though it's kind of been more of a cult classic over the years. So I was excited to watch it because I didn't just, hey, I get to see this famous movie. Yeah, I did not like it. But it's interesting hearing why you love it though, that you love the comedy horror genre, that you love ambiguous endings. I 90% of the time can't stand ambiguous endings, not because I don't appreciate ambiguity, just because I feel like they're often not satisfying for me. And that's an important differentiation I want to make to like teach their own when it comes to movies. We all have our preferences, what we like, what we don't like. You were kind of telling me about this movie. I can tell we have a lot of overlap and a lot where we don't overlap. And this is where we don't overlap. I watching it, so I'm not a horror fan, um, but I was not scared at any point during this movie. I didn't feel like it did horror well. The dialogue at first annoyed the shit out of me, and then our text conversation the night before watching it or the day before watching it rang in my head where you go, just keep in mind it's a parody. I was like, oh, I'm like, this makes way more sense now. I'm like, okay, so I appreciate the dialogue with that in mind, and I really liked a lot of Bale's lines, and his delivery was absurd, and that to
Yeah.
me was the funniest part of the movie, with him, just the way he talked. And it was the way that it's kind of off kilter and jarring at times, kind of juxtaposed with like what was going on, whether it was a serious moment or whether it was a normal moment, but he's confessing to like these murders, and people are like, huh, what did you say? They didn't hear him. So I'm kind of going on a tangent here. I did not enjoy it, but I'm glad I've seen it. And after you gave me kind of your background, when you found this movie, what you like about it, what your preferences are in movies, more in detail than we've talked about before, it makes a lot of sense why you like this, and I can see why you appreciate it. And I have thoughts on, what this movie's trying to do in a subtext level, more so than just what's on the surface of what you're seeing. But I'll get into that later, I think. But that's kind of my preliminary thoughts. I did not enjoy it, but I'm glad I saw it. And there's parts of it that I kind of appreciate. And when I did look up that Christian Bale was 26, going on 27 when this was filmed and released, that's absolutely insane. One, because he's just so talented and good, and two, I'm 32 and he looks way older than me. He doesn't look like an old person, but I'm like, this man is 26 and he looks like he's lived so much life.
I know. No, seriously. Yeah. I did kind of have a feeling that you would not enjoy this movie. So I do apologize for
No,
choosing a movie that I
nothing.
kind of had a feeling you weren't going to like,
Okay.
but I will say I think we can have some good conversation about kind of like what the
Oh, for
movie
sure.
represents and the messaging around all of it.
You're gonna crap on
Yeah.
some of my movies later on, so I'm not worried. You'll get me back. Don't worry.
Yeah, we literally have a category dedicated to me watching movies that you guys love and that I
Exactly.
hate.
Buckle up. No, just kidding.
Yeah. All right, Connor, what do you think about this movie? First watch experience? Any thoughts?
I similar to you, I watched this when I was in a late middle school, early high school phase of going through these, well rated, well regarded movies that I was too young to be watching. Um, Definitely watched this one in our basement growing up, and it flew over my head the first time I watched it. I remember enjoying it. I remember being very confused by it. And it's one that I don't return back to very often. I've seen it probably 4 or 5 times since then. And it had been a couple years since I had watched it most recently, before preparing for this pod. Um, I really do like this movie. I think Matthew touched on the shining piece of this movie is Christian Bale's performance. I think regardless of if the movie lands with you in other areas, the performances are really shining in this one, specifically Bale. Um, but yeah, like I said, it was too young to understand it at that time. It was in that camp of other movies that you're kind of like, whoa, this guy's crazy, but without really letting the themes kind of resonate. And Matthew, like you said, you had a slightly different experience after speaking to Vale about the movie. I think this is a big one where context has a lot to do with the understanding of it. Not that I would say, you know, a good movie requires like 3-4 YouTube videos afterwards to fully absorb what you just watched, but I do think you would maybe have a different experience if you did after our conversation and then revisiting this movie. Kind of understanding what is parody, what is, I know we'll talk about it later, what is real, what isn't real, what's in his head, what isn't, and it's very ambiguous in that way, and it opens it up for discussions like we're about to have. But all in all, I really do enjoy this movie. I find it very funny. Like I was laughing so hard during a handful of different scenes. There's definitely some stuff that doesn't fully land with me, but it is a very good movie, and I am glad we watched this one.
I do want to say I barely chuckled at all while watching it, and I've laughed more in the day since watching it when I think back to certain things that happened. I'm like, oh, I'm like, that was pretty great. Like, that was really dumb. That was
The
absurd.
Napoleon Dynamite effect.
Yeah, I was like, I'm like, that was pretty good. So I've laughed more at it thinking back about it than when I actually watched it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because when you're on the ride, you don't really know what's happening. You're like, if you're fully into this movie, whether you're enjoying it or not, you're along for this ride, and it is an insane ride. So, but yeah, looking back, like, oh yeah, that scene was funny. That scene was funny. There's a lot of really clever and funny writing that went into this, and
I'm also
Yeah.
curious as to why
Absolutely.
you guys saw this in like early high school. Like, how does that happen?
Well, you know, sometimes you just stumble upon that IMDb top 250 list and you just work your way through it. And you got to start young if you want to get through all the movies before you die. So-
That's morbid. Appropriate, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a
Yeah,
morbid
right.
movie, so. All right, let's dive into a little bit of trivia. Connor, do you want to kick us off with any just trivia facts, trivia questions, anything you got?
yeah, I'll start off with a question for you guys. And if you came across this in your research, let the other person answer. What percentage of this movie is Christian Bale shirtless, in his underwear, or nude?
Oh, that's a good question.
I did come across this, and I'm not remembering the percentage, but I did come across it. I don't, Matthew, I'll let you take a guess before I take a guess.
I didn't come across this in like researching the movie. Off the top of my head, it feels like a nice 50-50 split. It's probably not that clean of a cut, but I feel like it hovers around 50 now that I think about it.
I feel like it was like closer to like 60 to 75. Like,
okay.
I feel like it was a lot.
It wasn't quite that high. It was 40%.
Oh.
40%
Oh,
of
40.
this movie.
Okay.
There's not as much nude scenes, but I threw it in there because it was lumped in. But the in his underwear feels like every 5 minutes we're
Yeah.
spending time with
He's in his
Christian
underwear.
Bale in his underwear,
Yeah.
whether he's doing crunches or
Yep.
his morning routine, or I just, you know, sitting in his apartment, not doing work. We don't see him doing work
I've
very
commented
often.
on that, yeah.
He doesn't,
We could-
yeah, I was gonna say, he actually doesn't do work at all in the entire movie.
He has a fake job. He does nothing.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
literally doesn't do work. Every single time he's in, I actually found that like in my research that despite him having this like hotshot job, he actually does not. He's not shown
Yeah.
doing work once. Every time he's in his office, he's either talking to Willem Dafoe's character, he's talking to Jean, Chloe
Of course.
Sevigny's character, or he's like listening to music or talking to his friends. Like, he literally is never working.
Yeah.
So
40% in his underwear, 0% doing his job.
yeah, it's like, what even is his job? They're all
Literally.
in mergers and acquisitions, but like murders and executions for
murders
him.
and executions.
I did not realize he was an investment banker until I read the Wikipedia synopsis of the plot after. I'm like, what the fuck does this guy do? Like, honestly,
He was a
him-
vice president.
Yeah, there's 100
They're all
vice
vice
presidents.
presidents.
That was a good gag. They kept revealing they're all VPs, which honestly is such a good satire and accurate about a lot of companies that just name off a million vice presidents.
Mhm.
And I feel like whenever I personally think of people in corporations like this, like business corporations, this is honestly what I envision their jobs are. They do a bunch of
Exactly.
nothing. They go to lunch every 3 hours. They just glad hand and have meetings and tell their their assistants what to do. The only person that works in this movie is Chloe Savini's character.
Mhm.
Yes.
She like just takes his calls, all that kind of stuff. She's the only one that does her job.
Yeah,
She's
and
the
most
only
of her
one-
job is getting reservations.
Literally.
Yes. She's the only one that works, and also gets shit on by what she's wearing nonstop.
Oh my God.
Don't wear that outfit again. It's insane line.
Did Christian Bale's character invent like negging, like these back neg?
Definitely some early attempts at it for
yeah.
sure.
All right. Do you have any other questions or facts or anything else that you wanted to share, Connor?
I'll throw one more out there. I'll save one for the end. We got Batman and the Joker in this movie.
Yeah.
They didn't ever appear in the same movie, but we got Christian Bale, who played Batman for Christopher Nolan in 3 movies. And then we also got Jared Leto, who played the Joker. Probably the worst Joker that we've ever seen in film.
Yes.
Yeah,
For sure.
The best Batman and the worst Joker.
all about balance.
All right, Matthew, what about you? Any trivia facts or questions or anything?
3 really quick trivia facts that I'll fire off, and then I have a question specifically for Val.
All right.
So real quick, and you guys, sorry if you guys wanted to say this later, but before Christian Bale, or at different points, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, and Billy Crudup were all cast to play Patrick Bateman, which I thought was pretty interesting. And I know Pitt and DiCaprio left after creative differences, or the directors they were attached with that left. Crudup he was cast, sat with the role for a while, and it was like very unnerving for him and felt like he couldn't do it properly, so he left. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Bale initially turned on the role, but was later convinced to do it. And at first he was worried and had a difficult time about switching to an American accent, because the movie he was doing right before this, called Velvet Goldmine, he was speaking with a Mancunian accent, which is from Manchester, England. And, he's very method and will sit in his accents for a while. So he struggled with that. And the other thing, which I thought was really interesting reading it, various people, were attached to write and direct this. And at one point, Ellis, the writer of the book this is based on, he had gotten sick of like his initial kind of vision and stuff that he had with his original book that he wrote, because he'd been sitting on the story for 3 to 4 years post like publication. So because he was so kind of just fed up with it, he wrote an early draft of the script where in it ended with an elaborate musical sequence to Barry Manilow's Daybreak atop the World Trade Center. And they're like, yeah, no, we can't do this.
I'm glad they nixed that.
you'd immediately hated this movie. Val.
Yes. Ruined it.
So those are my 3 facts. And then my question for only Val, because I knew Connor would know the answer to this, and he answered part of it already with this fact, which is more than okay. But my question for Val is, which actors in this film have played comic book villains in movies, and which villains did they play?
Well, I know Willem Dafoe played the Green Goblin.
Iconic.
Let's see. Obviously, Jared Leto played the Joker.
Mm-hmm. There's one more, and this is a tough one.
I don't know if I know any others. I think that's all I've got for you.
Connor, do you know who the 3rd person is?
Well, we did have Christian Bale very recently played Gore the God Butcher in Thor: Love and Thunder.
That's the one.
Oh,
And
that's
we
what
got
it is.
Jared Leto again as Morbius, who
Good
I
one.
skipped that movie, but
I also skipped it.
I've literally never even heard of it. So
Absolutely terrible.
it's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time. Val, let's just say it's such a terrible movie that Connor and I have chosen not to see this comic book based movie. It was so bad that they didn't greenlight a sequel until a pseudo fake internet campaign started, where fans started just like hashtagging it's Morbin time and like fake things about makes Morbius 2 happen, where the studio actually thought fans wanted a sequel. And didn't they make a sequel, right?
I don't believe they did, but it was 100% an ironic fan.
Oh,
It was a
absolutely.
fake fan
And there
appreciation
was
of
rumors the
this movie.
studio thought about greenlighting a sequel because of this fake campaign, because people were just like ironically shitting on it. And yeah,
And fans were like, "We're kidding. It was awful."
yeah, the internet
As-
response was 10 million times better than the actual movie.
Yeah.
That's so funny. As someone who has worked in social media and works in marketing, like my heart like hurts for that team that thought that they were serious.
Amazing.
I
We're
genuinely
we're catching fire out there.
I
Morbius
feel
is
like
happening.
I feel for them. That's a tough break.
Mhm.
All right. I have a question for you guys. So, as you mentioned, Matthew, Christian Bale is obviously famous for his intense method acting. While preparing to play Patrick Bateman in American Psycho, he used several techniques to fully embody the character. Which of the following did Christian Bale not reportedly do during preparation or filming? 1, he spoke in an American accent offset all the time during filming. 2, followed a detailed morning routine, the same one described by Patrick Bateman early in the film. 3, studied the novel closely and distanced himself from others on set to create a mysterious, unsettling presence. 4, kept a daily journal written from Patrick Bateman's perspective throughout the shoot. And 5, underwent extensive dental work to better match the character's appearance. I can reread. I know that I kind of picked a lot of options, but he did a lot of stuff.
I personally think it's either the journal or whatever the one was right before it.
Studied the novel closely and distanced himself from others on set to create a mysterious, unsettling presence.
I won't give my final answer yet. I'll let Connor chime in. I want to. 4 sounds. I don't know why he would do it, but why would I question what him or other method actors do? I feel like it's 3, but I'll let Connor chime in first.
Could you read the second one again?
Followed the detailed morning routine described by Patrick Bateman early in the film.
I know for a fact he did do that.
That sounds right.
Yes, that is correct. He
And
did do
I
that.
do believe he journaled as well. I don't know for a fact that he did. With him being so method, I can't imagine he would have not studied the book.
I feel like I thought I had read that he like didn't want to read the source material, or at the beginning he hadn't. I could be wrong, but I feel like there was a purposeful distancing there, but I could be wrong.
Well, the distancing that I do believe happened was him distancing himself from the rest of the team there.
Yeah.
So maybe that is the correct answer. I'm willing to lock that one in as my guess, that he didn't study the book.
Okay, let's go 3 then.
Okay. That is actually incorrect.
Oh.
He studied the novel and he distanced. That was one choice. So sorry if that was confusing.
Oh, no.
All right. I was confused. I don't think it was confusing, but I was confused.
Well, if you're both confused, then it was confusing on my part. So sorry about that. The thing that he didn't do, or at least it wasn't reported that he did, he might have still done it. I just didn't come across it. Was kept a daily journal, written from Patrick Bateman's perspective throughout the shoot. So
because honestly, Patrick Bateman wouldn't have journaled, so I don't know why that didn't stand out to me.
Well, he did have a journal, but it was filled with sketches of his murders.
Decapitated women,
Yeah.
chainsaws.
Yeah,
that would be really, really concerning if Christian Bale, if that was the journal that he was working on.
That's the type of method actor that I think Jared Leto is.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. But yeah, the craziest part about like all of this is that he literally got like his teeth done, and there was like, it's up in the air if he did it for this movie or if he actually just did it for personal reasons and it just kind of like timed up with the movie. But let's be honest, it's both. All right. I also have a couple of other like random facts. I have 2 facts that are kind of things that have been like, I don't know if you've seen this on the internet, Matthew, but like, I know, Connor, you've definitely seen these facts on the internet just because they've circled around like in random Instagram accounts and Twitter accounts for years. But one of which being that Willem Dafoe's scenes, he has 3 scenes, and Mary Harron, the director, she instructed him to play each of the 3 scenes in a different way. One scene, she instructed him to be suspicious of Patrick Bateman. Another one to be kind of like undecided on his guilt, and then another one that he has absolutely no clue that it's him. So basically each one of those scenes, each one of his 3 scenes are completely up in the air whether he thinks he did it or not, which adds to kind of like the mystery and like the chaos of the whole story.
Mm-hmm. Wasn't that all the interrogation scene? Because there's moments within that when he's first loosely interrogating Patrick in his office, asking him questions. There are scenes where he's like kind of looking intensely, like he's very suspicious, and then there's he's just kind of smiling and going through his notes. And I thought it was they shot that scene 3 different ways and then spliced the cuts up.
Well,
So there's
I was gonna say
every couple moments it kind of shifts his suspicion of Patrick, changes like every couple seconds in those scenes.
I thought it was because each scene that he's in, he is interrogating him. So I did think it was each interrogation scene, but who's to know how they edited it at the end? Like they could have spliced things together, of course. But like I do think like he was instructed 3 separate times to like act it in a different way. Basically, yeah.
That's what it seemed like to me. Each scene was different because I did pick up on that, and that's something that kind of bothered me a little bit. Not in the execution or the direction, but the fact like if it was like a writing thing, which now you're telling me was a directing thing, so it makes a lot more sense because I was like the first scene he's in the office, he's immediately like throughout that scene overall, he's suspicious of him. You can tell he's like something's not really adding up. Also, Patrick Bateman's character is really weird with lying a lot of times. I'm like, this guy's clearly he fucking did it. Yeah. Like, how do you not know? The first scene in the office was suspicious, and then the second one that I can remember was in the restaurant, and then like the whole time Christian Bale's character is just like profusely sweating and acting nervous. And then William Dafoe's like, I don't really know who it is. And then at the end, he's like, yeah, I guess you're right. It's probably whatever. And that one, I'm like, okay, like he's undecided. Also, how can you not like, why aren't you suspicious because he's sweating so much?
Right. He can't remember where he was. He doesn't have an alibi. He's like, I could be mistaken. He's like, he goes, I hope I'm not being cross-examined. He's like, do you feel like you're being cross-examined? No, not really.
Yeah, that's so that off-kilter, like jarring dialogue that I mentioned earlier. That like really like I was like, what's happening here? Yeah,
and it's like really quick tonal shifts too. Like it's very intense, and then it's kind of light, and it's very intense. But yeah, like you said, he's profusely sweating through the entire thing.
So bad.
It's like he did it. Like that's your guy.
Yeah.
And then another like super famous, I feel like, piece of trivia about this movie that I have seen a million times on social media is that when Christian Bale was kind of looking for a way to create the character of Patrick Bateman, he stumbled upon a Tom Cruise interview on The Late Show with David Letterman. And according to the co-writer and director Mary Harron, Bale used this as like a very intense friendliness with nothing behind his eyes to base the character of Bateman from, which I love as a Tom Cruise hater. I'm like, perfect. I'm like, I love to see that. So it's so funny that and I did go and watch that interview, which I'll insert a really quick clip of that interview right here so you guys can see.
But he's the kind of guy you wanted to have him sleep the whole way. It's like just. But honestly, looking at it from another direction, isn't that attempted manslaughter? You just turn a guy's oxygen off. You're lucky you're not doing time, for the love of God.
But it is just it's something was going on with him in that interview.
I don't know if it's drugs on Oprah, jumping up and down on the couch.
Yeah, he's had some very interesting late night show or talk show appearances over the years, and
aliens have a tough time acting like humans.
Very true.
He struggles walking around in that skin suit.
Yes. Alrighty. I have a couple other random things, but we'll move on for now, and maybe we'll circle back later. So let's go into our IMDb deep dive. I kind of already we kind of already touched on a little bit of what I wanted to talk about for IMDb deep dive with like how some of them were like in superhero or supervillain characters, whatever. So I will kick it over to you guys. Matthew, do you have anything for IMDb deep dive? Tongue twister.
It's always gonna get us.
Yeah.
For that one, you could have gone a lot of different ways with this cast and some of the lesser known people. But I went with actor Josh Lucas, who played one of the main people, one of Christian Bale's colleagues. And I just picked him out just because, and I picked up on all these people right away, just, because they've been in so many movies and stuff. But I really like him because, well, I'll read some of his catalog real quick, and then I'll say the movie that I like him the most in. But he was featured in this. He was in A Beautiful Mind, Sweet Home Alabama, the 2003 Hulk, Glory Road, The Lincoln Lawyer, Ford versus Ferrari, and a couple TV series, including Yellowstone. And I always will like him as an actor, at least for his role in Glory Road, which to me is like one of my favorite sports biographical movies I've ever seen. Like, it's up there with like Remember the Titans, some of those other ones. And I'm sure
it's the basketball version of Remember the Titans.
It's so good. It's like that. So for unironic reasons, Glory Road and Hoosiers are two really, really awesome basketball movies. And with Glory Road, Josh Lucas plays the head coach of a Texas college back in the 60s. And I believe he fields the first like all African-American starting lineup. And, it's very historic. They ended up winning the national title. Like, they were some no-name school, and they did this with, all black, like, starting lineup. Like, it was a huge thing. The movie's really, really great. Great writing, great acting, great stuff across the board. And he just crushes it. Kind of this, like, hard-nosed coach, but who's also very progressive and also genuinely and deeply cares for his players. So I wanted to kind of shout him out because I always appreciated his role in that. And then I know I mentioned two unironic basketball movies that are really great, those Glory Road and Hoosiers, and one kind of more ironically great basketball movie, Like Mike, another classic. But Josh Lucas is my IMDb deep dive.
Awesome.
Nice.
What about you, Connor?
So I have a very similar one. Josh Lucas and Reese Witherspoon reunite 2 years later in Sweet Home Alabama, which is in a lot of ways the complete opposite film as American Psycho. Also, the pretty tough to watch scene with the homeless guy played by Reg E. Carthy. He played Freddy in House of Cards.
That's who he was.
He was Johnny Storm's father in the really bad Fantastic Four. And he played Norman in The Wire as well.
I was like,
so he was definitely that guy, and I saw his face in that scene, and I was like, "Wait a minute, is that really him?" And spent a little bit of time surfing through his IMDb. He's been in an awful lot of stuff, but I thought those were the things that we would have seen him in.
I clicked in his page real quick to look at him, and I recognized the name, but I just didn't. I don't know why I only just looked at the very top of his page and scrolled down to see that he was that guy. But I thought it was very interesting that he was that very minor one scene role. And his educational background is amazing for acting. He got his bachelor's, his BFA from Michigan, a top acting, musical undergraduate program. And then he got his MFA from Yale, which is like the cream of the crop American, acting schools. And then I thought it was funny. He has this amazing educational acting background, and then he's just this one little bit part.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's move on to our optimal viewing experience. So what would be kind of your favorite way to watch this movie? And this is an interesting one. Obviously, Matthew doesn't have a favorite way to watch this movie. I'll quickly go first. I actually feel like with this movie, it's almost kind of interesting because like nothing really comes to mind. Like nothing really jumps out as like, this is the way that I would want to watch this movie. It obviously can be like a tough watch in some ways. So it's not like I'm like, let's watch this in the theater, or like let's put it on in the background while we're hanging out with family. It's like obviously I'm not doing that. I do feel like maybe like a dark, cozy basement home theater type of a situation would be like the best way. That's how I always watch horror movies. So I'm like, I don't know if that would be kind of like, that just feels like the best way to watch for me. But again, what about you, Connor?
I have very similar. I don't really have a firm opinion on this one. Like a lot of movies I do. But this one, I mean, it came out in the year 2000. I was 4 years old, missed this one in theaters. And I've literally only seen this movie by myself at home. So that's going to have to be my answer because I've never dabbled with any other viewing experiences besides at night by myself at home.
Imagine this at the drive-in.
Wild.
If it was there, I wouldn't miss it. But
What about you, Matthew?
So I started laughing when you mentioned this category because in my notes I just wrote nowhere. um,
Yeah.
but if I had to think about it, I feel like what you said, Val, probably just at home, in the basement, lights off, kind of dark, cozy, late night kind of movie vibes, throw something on. But I think that's the best answer. But I answer two things. I think one, I wish I could kind of go back in time and witness the first theater reactions to this. I really want to know how people responded to
Yeah.
this in theater.
Mhm.
And because $7 million dollar budget, small budget, made 34 million, so financially did well. Box office did well. But I think optimal for me now, having seen it and knowing your opinions, I think I'd want to watch it with you guys, like the three of us hanging out watching this. Hearing your takes in real time, but all of us just laughing at the absurd shit that they say,
Yeah.
and the way that Christian Bale also says it. Like I feel like that would be optimal for me now with this context.
Yeah.
I do
No,
think you'd
definitely.
find a lot more humor in a additional rewatch of this. I think watching it one more time, you'll get a different picture from it. But
Matthew
you
never
might
wants
need a
to
little
watch
bit
it
of time.
again.
Just the way Christian Bale talks was just boggling my mind. I'm like, why the fuck is this guy talking
I have
like
to
this?
return some videotapes.
He says that so many. I made a note about that in my Google Doc. I'm like,
Yes.
he just says this over and over again. Like, what are these videotapes he's returning? And I'm like, are they the ones he filmed? But why? Where would he return those? Nowhere.
It's actually there's no videotapes. That's just what he says when he gets
Yeah.
like kind of caught in a tough situation. Like that's his excuse to get out of things. He's like, I have to go return some videotapes, and he just like rushes out, and everyone's like, what?
Very interesting defense mechanism.
I'm gonna
Yes.
say I didn't have this for
I
what
have to
age
go to
poorly,
Blockbuster.
but that's a very late '90s thing. To say, I gotta
Yeah.
or '80s, I guess, for the sake of the movie. But I gotta return some videotapes. No one has videotapes. No one returns them anymore. It's not a real thing.
Yeah. All right. Next up, we have describe a movie plot poorly. This is a one sentence, terrible description of the movie. Connor, if you want to go first, take it away.
On paper, Evelyn Williams has it all. A handsome, successful fiance, a booming social life, access to all New York City's finest clubs and restaurants. That is until her world is turned upside down when her fiance leaves to return some videotapes and never returns.
I like it. I like it. What about you, Matthew?
I had a New York foodie and musical connoisseur who can recite New York Times food reviews and music artists' discographies by heart, spends his days doing literally anything but his job and spending time with his fiance.
Love
I like
it.
it.
I took kind of a similar approach, but a little bit different. I said a hardworking Wall Street professional does his absolute best to maintain a perfect lifestyle, impressive career, and a rigorous self-care routine.
Nice.
He's a good guy, you guys.
Hardworking at what?
At killing. I didn't say what.
Self-preservation.
Alrighty. Let's jump into some quotes. If you maybe we'll start with you, Matthew, if you want to just give like your like top one or two quotes. We can always circle back, but again, it is a horror comedy, but it's not one of our classic comedies where we have 1,000 quotes. So we'll stick to maybe like one or two each.
Yeah. So I have two written down. The first one I have that kind of just made me laugh was very jarring because it didn't feel random, but just the tone of what he said and everything was just very different from what the scene it was in. But it's when he is going to he's going to kill Jared Leto's character, and he puts on the music and he goes, "You like Huey Lewis in the News?" And he just kind of just says it, and he says it so like chippery, and I'm just like, wait. And then my second one was when they're talking about all of their business cards, and he's like talking about Paul Allen's card, and he goes, and it's the voiceover, and he says, "Look at that subtle off-white coloring, that tasteful thickness of it. Oh my God, it even has a watermark."
His delivery on "oh my God"
Yeah.
is so funny.
He's just like
Yeah.
mentally salivating over this guy's business card, and that
Yes.
that was when I think it clicked for me that Val had said it was a parody, and I'm like, okay, this is all right.
Yeah. What about you, Connor?
I think the one that made me laugh the hardest is when he's talking to the homeless guy and he asks him like why he lost his job, and he goes, "Insider trading? Just joking." So
I can't even watch. I like actually can't even watch that scene. Like that
it's
scene
tough.
is
It's tough.
it's a very hard watch. And like I love this movie, but like I am sick to my stomach during that scene. So I'm like anything said in that scene, like I block out. I'm like the
Mhm.
look in his eye when he's like, "You want to help me? You're so kind." I'm like, I
You
gotta
know you
turn this
stink like
off.
shit.
I'm like, what the hell? It's like, yeah, of course. He's literally a serial killer. He's disgusted
Yeah.
by everybody. I'm like, I get it. But I'm like, oh, I felt so bad. And like, to seal the
Mhm.
deal, has to violently kill the dog too. I'm like,
Yeah,
perfect.
that
Ugh.
was tough. That and I have to return some videotapes is just the best.
I have to return some videotapes. He's always so frantic when he says it. He's like, I have to return some videotapes. And then he rushes out.
Those late fees, they used to get you.
Oh yeah. Okay. I have many quotes that I think are hilarious from this movie, but one of them that I don't even think I like really where is it? I've lost it. Oh, I found it. It's like a just a simple stupid little line, but he's walking into the restaurant with I don't know if he's with Evelyn or if he's with his like mistress. I can't remember who, but they walk in and he goes, it's like just his voiceover. And he goes, I'm on the verge of tears by the time we arrive at the restaurant, since I'm positive we won't have a decent table, but we do. And relief washes over me like an awesome wave. I started dying. I like had never really like picked up on that line in other times I've watched it, but it's just so funny. And then like just his thought process, like obviously I know it's like satire or whatever, but it's just so funny that like emphasizing the things that like really do set these people off and that they care about. And then similarly, kind of another like same vibe, he goes, there's a moment of sheer panic when I realized that Paul's apartment overlooks the park and is obviously more expensive than mine. Like his little voiceovers are hilarious. He's like
Yeah.
just all day long he's like just freaking out subtly that like he's not gonna get a reservation at Dorsia, or like who has better glasses, who
Yeah,
has better business card.
competition,
Yeah,
the comparing.
yeah, there's so many like random little remarks like that throughout that are just absolutely insane. And then I know I said 1 to 2, but there's one other random one that was really funny. There was just like a guy when they were at the club doing coke in the bathroom. The guy goes over the stall, like some random guy, and he goes, "Could you keep it down? I'm trying to do drugs." I was like, "What?"
And
It's
right
like-
after that, Justin Theroux, after freaking out, he's like, "Sorry, man, steroids."
just a bunch of just absolute meatheads. It's so funny. Okay, so typically for this category we have like a what made it into the vernacular subcategory. Obviously, for a movie like this, there's not too many things that made it into the vernacular, but I will say there is one thing that I do say, and it's when it's let's see Paul Allen's card. I say, let's see Paul Allen's this or let's see Paul Allen's that. Like that has made it into my vernacular. Just any
That's good.
reference to Paul Allen. Alrighty, let's dive into our best use of music throughout the movie. So I will run through a couple of songs that played throughout this movie that I think are kind of like synonymous with this movie and like did a really good job of like painting that 80s yuppie culture. So starting with Hip to Be Square by Huey Lewis and the News. We also have Sussudio by Phil Collins, Walking on the Sunshine by Katrina and the Waves, and Simply Irresistible by Robert Palmer. So I don't know if you guys have any thoughts or anything you want to add there about like what you think would be the actual best use of music. Connor, if you want to start.
I think the one most tied to this movie has to be Huey Lewis. I know we've mentioned that scene several times already. We have favorite scene coming up later. I'm sure we're going to be talking about that scene again. It is just his breakdown of the band and where they're going and why this album was so unique. Like everything about that is so funny, and just putting such a brutal murder scene to Hip to Be Square is just really funny. So I think it's got to be that one. And my runner-up would be Walking on Sunshine, because I just love that shot of him just void of emotion walking through the office with the headphones on listening to Walking on Sunshine.
What about you, Matthew?
Yeah, Walking on Sunshine is my personal favorite. Just love that song. And also just the juxtaposition, like Connor was saying, of him walking in just straight face. The beginning of the movie kicks it off. But I agree that the best use of music would have to be Hip to Be Square by Huey Lewis and the News. And also, I come from this from someone who was watching this for the first time. And I just think it works so well in that scene. And just, contrasting it to that, the fact that, like Connor said, he is about to brutally murder someone, and he throws on this type of music in the background. And I love that he just kicks it off with, "You like Huey Lewis and the News?" Just very like innocent. Yeah, so I have to go with that one.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think that this song is so synonymous with this movie for so many people that like I actually like if I ever hear this song, it specifically brings me into the scene in the movie. Like if it just
Mhm.
like ever plays on the radio, like I can't not picture this scene just because again, I've seen this movie a bunch. I feel like this is just the song of the movie. So I completely agree.
Yeah, and shout out to Susudio. I do love that song.
Yes.
It
It's
fails
perfect for the
to
movie.
identify the movie as well as Hip to Be Square does.
Yeah.
But the music is just used in such a funny way. It's like it is him trying to conform. Like as he's talking about these different artists, it never feels like those are his genuine thoughts. They're like a rehearsed
Yeah.
performance of like, well, I'm in touch with this newest hip music, and it's like everything feels so rehearsed, and it's so funny because everything he's talking about is like the opposite of the actions he's about to
Yeah.
commit. It's like it's about to be a violent murder every time he puts on a trendy song.
Yeah, I mean, he said it himself. He's empty and he's not human. So he's very open about that.
And he
So
just wants to fit in.
yes. All right. So favorite scene, or best scene, whatever route you guys want to go with this. I'll go first and say, because you already kind of touched on it. I do feel like the Paul Allen murder scene, like, yes, obviously in the context of a horror movie, yes, that's my favorite scene. Obviously, typically a scene when someone's getting murdered would not be my favorite scene in a movie, but considering what this movie is about, I do think the Paul Allen murder scene, it kind of like it really shows that like it shows a lot about him and like his thought process, and that like he genuinely is just like so unhinged and so crazy, and like there really isn't a lot going on. And also it shows how obvious he is about the actions that he's about to commit, and yet Paul Allen has no idea. Obviously he's drunk, but also it's like the entire apartment is covered in plastic and sheets, and Paul Allen has no idea. He's like, "Do you have a chow or something?" Like he's like, why is there like the style section like taped to the floor?" Like it's just so like it the thought that he could get murdered like didn't even occur to him. So I do think that is like a perfect scene that just like showcases how easy it is. And then he afterwards he's bringing the body down in the bag, and he goes through the lobby, and blood is literally leaking out of the bag, and the doorman just like looks
But
at
then
it
it
and he's
disappears.
well, yeah, there's thoughts about what happened and what didn't happen, obviously.
'Cause once
But
he's outside, there's no blood trail through the lobby.
yeah, well, interesting, but I still there's we
Anyway,
can get into we'll get into that later because I think that I think a lot of these
We'll get
things
into
did
that.
happen, but we'll get into it. And then I also like the business card scene too, because it just shows like how unbelievably like shallow these people are, and just like how it's like and it's also kind of funny how like you can see how like they all care about it, but like he obviously Patrick Bateman cares about it on another level. He's sweating, he's freaking out,
Mhm.
he's having like internal dialogue of like a meltdown when he sees that people have a better business card than he does. So I also just like that scene because it's funny, and it just like it's that one's a little bit more lighthearted. But what about you, Matthew? I know you might not have a favorite scene,
I gotta
but
be
if you
honest,
had to choose,
I had to really think hard about this. I at first wanted to say any of the scenes with Willem Dafoe, especially the first one, just because I know the movie's supposed to be kind of absurd, and there's people are supposed to be operating on this like non-realistic level. He was like the only person to me that felt like they were like really acting in a way. I don't know. He felt the most like grounded, I guess I want to say. But I think that my true maybe favorite scene, because it just kind of made me laugh at how absurd it was in the moment, was either the scene or the stretch of scene after Christian Bale's character kills the lady at the ATM and he starts fleeing from the police. And just everything about that scene, I was like kind of laughing, and I don't want to say laughing because I wasn't like bursting out laughing.
It's
in this
so
movie, like,
extreme. And
I'm
over
just
the
like,
top.
what? And I just kept like kind of like chuckling here and there. And he just takes off. The police immediately follow him. They didn't witness him murder her, but they're already chasing after him. And he's running around. He's shooting like the people working in the apartment building, just deciding to shoot these people. I think he might have he shoots the janitor. He's just shooting everyone.
When he leaves and comes back and
Exactly.
shoots the janitor.
Yeah. Exactly.
It makes no
doubles back.
sense.
And then he gets in the gunfight with the police, and then he shoots once, and the police car blows up. Why is the police car blowing up? And then when I read the plot synopsis of this afterwards, just to recap on Wikipedia, when it describes that scene, it says he gets in like a gunfight with the police, etc., and then it says, and then the police car inexplicably explodes. Like, yes, it makes no sense.
He even looks at the gun.
Yeah, he like even can't believe what he's witnessing. He's like, what?
Right. So like that stretch of all that stuff, it was just so crazy. It just made me laugh. It just gave me a good laugh.
Yeah.
Then my favorite part of that, because I did have that on my short list of favorite scenes, but when the ATM flashes the words "feed me a stray cat," it's I think the funniest part of that whole thing. And he just presses the cat up to the ATM. The woman's like, "What are you doing?"
He's like, well, I guess I have to.
Yeah.
There's a chance I would have turned that movie off if he also murdered the cat, because one of my like non-negotiables for movies is a dog can't die, and a dog died in this movie, and I instantly in my nose, I'm like, fuck this movie. Like, I don't watch
But the
Marley
cat
and Me.
survived.
I don't watch Marley and Me because I know Marley dies eventually. And I don't watch the first John Wick because I know someone kills his puppy in the first like 5 minutes or something. And eventually I'll have to watch his movies, but like that's like my one non-negotiable, and this happens.
Sorry,
so Val,
I should have given you a trigger warning.
Val,
I'm sorry.
just know I care about you deeply, that I stayed with this movie after seeing that. But if that cat died, I'm like, I'm done.
I
If the cat
absolutely
died, it wouldn't be one of Val's favorite movies.
True.
I trust me. Like I said, that scene is very hard to watch. Like with the homeless man Al and the dog. Like it's not like the thing about this movie is like it's not like I'm like having the best time of my life when I'm watching it. Like, don't get me wrong, there are scenes that I think are funny. Yeah, no, it's like I like the messaging, like I like the way that they do it. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's like it's on I'm not just like, this is so fun. It's like, obviously, like there are hard watches. There are things in it that I don't like. Obviously I don't enjoy watching him have way too long sex scenes with those poor women. Like that went on for way too long.
He's having a threesome with two prostitutes, and I'm just like, I'm picturing Val watching this movie many times over the years, and also watching this as like a child. I was like, what is going on with Val?
You get
Him checking
desensitized.
himself out, looking at himself in the mirror during those scenes is hilarious.
Alrighty.
Business cards. The business card scene is
scene.
my number one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see
I love
Paul
how
Allen
he's just
started.
like, yeah, he's literally sweating. He's like freaking out.
Oh my god.
All right, let's move on. Next category is our aged like milk and aged like wine categories, which is kind of our rewatchable shout out for what aged the worst and what aged the best. So starting with aged like milk, I will go first. I do believe that despite the uncomfortable lines and scenes that we see throughout this movie, I actually do think that this movie did age pretty well, just because that's literally the point of the movie, is to show that these men in this culture absolutely suck, and like to show how horrible these people are, how they basically, the way that they act, the way that they talk, like their offensive jokes and like the things that they say, like they're not played for laughs. So it's like, I do think that it aged well in the sense that like the movie is very aware that these things are bad. Whereas I think in other movies that we've seen, like a gay joke played for laughs, it's like, then the movie is almost like the movie is saying this is funny, where it's like we can kind of like distinguish like that's where something would age poorly. But I think in this, it's like everything here,
It's
all of the
critical
offensive,
of
yes,
everything.
exactly,
Yeah.
everything here is played for you to specifically understand these people and their lack of values better, and I think it accomplishes that. So I do think that kind of like looking at the intent behind some of the like horrible things that we see and the horrible jokes and offensive things that we see, it's like that's kind of the point. Is so I do think that overall, like I didn't really have anything that aged like milk. I don't know about you guys. Connor, did you have anything for this one?
I didn't really have anything because everything you just said, I think, is spot on. It really does criticize the things that we're seeing in it. I mean, we can complain further about the dog death and, you know, him trying to feed a cat to the ATM, and there's other moments that are, you know, how his attitude towards women. I mean, all that stuff is not celebrated by this movie. It is a criticism of that. So
Yeah,
I
like
think
he's a
it made
monster.
well in that way. Yeah.
I completely agree. I had the same thing. I had noted a couple F slurs, but like you guys said, it was to paint a picture of who these people were, what they're like, their
Mhm.
values. The story takes place in the late 80s New York City, so it's at the height of the HIV scare as well.
Mhm.
So this is all kind of just firmly for storytelling purposes, not for any positive purposes. Like the comedies we saw, there could have been a gay joke in a 2008 comedy that was supposed to be for a laugh, but obviously that's, doesn't fly. So this is used specifically for a certain purpose, for us not to like these people and for, to show us who these people are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
And it
for
works.
the year 2000, it was extremely aware, and the
Yeah.
criticism of those things holds up extremely well today.
Yeah, definitely. That's basically what I have for kind of like aged like wine, is just that I think like the messaging really did hold up, and I think it's all very relevant today still. In media and like in life, I think we've seen like a very like obviously we see people are very materialistic and superficial, not just in New York City corporate finance culture. I think we see that kind of across the board with just like over consumerism in our culture. So I think like that has aged well, like the criticism of that. Also just kind of like the idea that like these rich white men can do whatever and get away with it. I think that whole criticism also has aged
Yeah,
well.
they're still making movies about that today.
Exactly. And that's kind of like the main point that I want to make, is that like we still see these themes in media now. We have for a long time, but there has been like a push of like the criticism, at least of like rich people and like the wealthy culture. We've seen such a push of that especially in TV, like looking at like Succession and White Lotus and Industry. It's like there's a lot of stuff out right now about that, and I do think that it's been explored a ton, and I think it's still very interesting to people. I think just like the overall topic of this movie of just like has really like aged well. Like we still make movies about it, people are still care about it, it's still an issue in our culture, it's all very relevant today. Anything else that you guys want to add there? Any specific things that are ready to move on?
Yeah, not for milk, no.
That was for wine, but
Oh,
for either section, you guys have anything that you want to share?
I do have a little bit of
wanted
wine.
Got it.
I wanted to shout out Christian Bale, just his career. I know, Matthew, you touched on that there were so many other names attached to this movie. And although this wasn't his first acting role, I mean, he had acted before. He was a child actor in, I believe it was Spielberg's Empire of the Sun. This was the first movie as an adult that he was the lead character. And there was question, can we open this movie with him? Like that was a concern in the year 2000, and it's 2026, and he's seen as one of the greatest actors of this generation. Sure. So I really think that just that trajectory of his career it's aged like wine.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think during the time, I read that during the time when he was considering taking this role, he was told by many people to like avoid this role. It's a controversial script. It's like not maybe like the thing you want to do. I think I even read the term career suicide in something that I read. But obviously the opposite turned out to be true. Yeah. This was like kind of a breakthrough performance for him and shifted his career, like you said, into being a lead man instead of a supporting role. So yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, I had like you said, Christian Bale was kind of on my wine list. Obviously, I noted some of the other people like Jared Leto, Reese Witherspoon have had massive careers. I know it was early Reese Witherspoon. Obviously Leto was younger, but he might have done some stuff already. I can't totally remember. Besides that, I noted things like Bale flexing in the mirror, dancing in his raincoat, giving a smirk to the camera, all highly, highly memed moments that I see all the time. And honestly, that was like, besides this title and it being a famous movie, My only other familiarity with this going into this first viewing was all these memes. I've seen them and had friends send them to me so many times. So like those are just imprinted in my mind, but I didn't know the full context behind them.
The why not, you stupid bastard, is such a meme too.
And then besides that, overall, like Val had said, the consumerism, I was really the critique on consumerism, and I was really surprised watching this because, you know, at the time this is released, I was 6-7 years old. I was probably just 6 years old. And, you know, so like I have a different perspective of what life was like back then, what was in the public eye, public consciousness, what people were for, against, critiquing, etc. And I forget oftentimes that consumerism is no new thing. It's a very uniquely American thing, and it's been around for a very long time. But these critiques have existed for a while, and this was I think a helpful reminder of that. And I'm watching this, and even though I'm not a fan of this, you know, movie, like it's not like I enjoyed it, but there's a lot I appreciate about it. And part of it was how on the nose the critique of one, yuppie culture, but more so to like consumerism is, well, actually both equally. But on the point of consumerism, just the things they were doing, what they were saying, how they're critiquing it, and how it's aged so well, that more so than ever, that's so prevalent when we live in a hyper consumerist type of society. And so I thought that aged phenomenally, just to kind of tag on to what you guys were saying. And then in a more specific thing kind of related to Bale's character, I know in the opening Bateman dialogue scene in his apartment where he's describing his morning routine and his scrubs and his masks and his shampoos and all that kind of stuff, like that to me just immediately reminded me of present day influencers, people that are not even just like vlogging their days and morning routines, but the people that shoot it in a very specific way. Like and the one guy that came to mind was about a year ago, an influencer named Ashton Hall like went viral, and you guys might remember him, where he took some video. It's a very nice apartment, and he would detailed his like morning/day routine, and he wakes up at like 4:30 in the morning, and he puts these hands of some woman off picture, puts a bowl of chilled ice water in front of him, and he dips his face into it, and he pulls it out, and then she slides a towel off screen to him, and he dabs his face, and then he's like journaling, and he's working out, and he's doing all these things, and it's just kind of like I hated it. I hated everything about it. And it's, you know, people, he's getting traction and attention and, you know, therefore revenue through the views of like kind of creating this hyper idealistic and unrealistic version of like, you know, what people say your morning routine. Cause we talk about like optimizing and all these things. And so we got to be on the schedule and do all these things and work out and go to school and do side hustles and take care of family, but also do this, you know, journal for your mental health, like all these millions of things to be hyper productive. And so it just, that opening sequence and the critique on consumerism reminded me of this specific influencer and just this general trend of people doing this stuff. Yeah. And the ones that are really real and like, you know, fully mask off, like this is what reality is like. I appreciate those, but these like highly, I don't even know what the correct word for it. Yeah, just highly edited and just superficial and fake ones. I'm just like, oh man. So that opening thing brought me right back to that influencer.
It's a hell of a morning routine. I've been doing it for about 3 weeks straight to prepare for this pod.
Your skin looks flawless.
Thank you. It's all the scrubs and serums that put me into credit card debt.
Oh yeah,
but I can do 1,000 crunches now.
I will say Christian Bale's skin looked absolutely unreal because he was doing that skincare routine. Obviously, it's different when you're an actor and you've got like actor money and resources to do those things. True. But like, I'm like, hey, that actually worked. His skin looked crazy good. Also, with that influence that you're talking about, Matthew, is he the guy that like would iron his sheets like on his bed? Do you guys know who I'm talking about? There's like an influencer who literally would iron his sheets, and everyone in the comments was like, "Okay, Patrick Bateman." It was so funny.
It's not the same dude, but I know exactly what you're talking.
Okay, yeah,
I've seen
that was like that was like kind of spooky. Like he like the way he got up, the way he filmed his stuff, and then he like ironed he literally would make his bed and then iron it on top, so it was like perfect. And everyone was like, "You're a serial killer."
Literally psychopath.
Alrighty. Anything else on that before we move on?
No.
All right. Let's move into our Chicken Tendies award.
I'm gonna run a train on these chicken fingers.
This is a bit, trope, one-liner, anything that is always great. Connor, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I've got when the music and the scene have such a contrast with each other. When it's a really light song with a very violent scene, as in this movie, or just really any example of that in film where it's just what we're hearing and what we're seeing are so not lined up. I'm a big fan of that. And I found it funny every single time in this movie.
I had two, an honorable mention, the one I want to go with. My honorable mention is just Jared Leto playing a psychotic character. He's not necessarily psychotic, but all these businessmen are like, basically are, honestly.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
I think just the characters he played, I know the Joker comes to mind, but there's just like something in behind, or I guess not behind those eyes, that it's like this guy is nuts. And
Yeah.
so I thought that kind of character was perfect for him. But what I really want to go with is Justin Theroux playing a slick, possibly douchey character. Just the way he talks, the way he looks, everything about it so good. And then with his hair slicked back in this movie, it was extra good. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought him up too, because I recently watched Mulholland Drive, where he plays a very douchey director in that, very similar to his character in this, and maybe within a year of release from this. And then I also very recently just watched Tropic Thunder, which he directed.
That's right.
And co-wrote with Ben Stiller. So not as much a douchey energy there, but just wanted to shout him out because he always seems to be just these like background characters, character actor. And he's just been involved in a lot of really interesting projects over the years without being like an A-lister anymore. He's just kind of not really someone who's discussed, but I mean, he directed Tropic Thunder, is one of my favorite movies, and he's been involved in a lot of other huge projects.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely underrated, I feel like.
And very good in Fallout.
Yeah, which I do need to see. Okay. I had the same thing as you, Connor, of kind of like the cheerful, like music that contrasts the scene, but I specifically wrote like cheerful music over violence. This is like a staple in like the horror comedy genre. Like it happens all the time. And like also another thing that comes to mind is like in like different Scorsese like mob movies and stuff. Like I feel like it definitely does like add, not that violence should be not taken seriously and that like it should be taken lightly, but it does add like an element of like it lightens things up, a little comedic flair. So I do really enjoy that. That would probably be like my actual Chicken Tendies award. But I also do love an unreliable narrator and ambiguous endings, which both have a place in this movie. I love an unreliable narrator. I love when you have no idea what's real, what's not. It's just all those things make up my perfect movie. All right. Next category is our Augie Farks Award, which is for the best, great, funniest character name in the movie. So I will kick it over to you, Matthew.
Yeah, so I had three quick ones for this. First of all, Patrick Bateman, just iconic character name. Before even seen this movie, I've heard his name before, and I knew it was related to this. I also really liked Lewis Carruthers, who was another one of his colleagues, the one that comes onto him in the bathroom, or thinks rather that Patrick Bateman's coming onto him. Carruthers is just such a good rich guy name. I feel like he's from like an oil tycoon family, and he lives in an old, like, you know, I guess in America it'd have to be like a 17th century mansion. Like that's such a Carruthers like type of person for me. And then my third one is Paul Allen. It just sounds like a really good kind of like business rich guy name, especially because immediately when I heard it, I'm like, wasn't Paul Allen like, didn't he work for Microsoft? And then I Googled it, and Paul Allen was co-founder of Microsoft with...
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, I've heard that before. So I think just three really good, like, rich guy, crazy names, whatever, fits the characters well. But I feel like the award still has to go to Patrick Bateman. He's just synonymous with this role, with murdering, with everything that this movie's about.
Yeah, definitely. I also think that it goes to Patrick Bateman. I do think Paul Allen is a close runner-up just because of like all of the memes, all of the jokes. Like I constantly, like I said, I literally say, let's see Paul Allen's card like all the time. And just like, it's just, these names are so funny. Like all of the guys in like their group, it's just, they have such plain, but also like very rich sounding names. You know, they all came from money. That's how they got the jobs. They all went to prestigious schools. That whole Yale thing. They were all in frats, like you already know. Like
Mhm.
they're all that's just
Oh, yeah.
their names fit perfectly. Okay, next up we have the Paul Rudd category. So Paul Rudd is one of our favorite actors, and we like to see if we can fit him into any movie. I actually feel like Paul Rudd is too pure for this movie in every single way. I'm like, Paul Rudd doesn't belong in this movie, but if I had to squeeze him in, I think I would make him one of Patrick Bateman's like asshole colleagues. What about you guys? What about you, Connor?
I have him controversially replacing Jared Leto as Paul Allen. I think just the line delivery of "Do you have a chow?" done by a slicked back hair Paul Rudd would be hilarious. He's only in those couple scenes, but he's talked about throughout the entire movie. Like every scene is about Paul Allen, but I think we only see him in 3 scenes. It's the boardroom, the Mexican restaurant, and then his murder scene.
Yeah.
I'm not a big Jared Leto fan, and I am a big Paul Rudd fan. So just for
So you're
those
just trying to
3
replace him.
scenes- yeah, I'm
Jared
happy
Leto
to
out.
replace him. And I agree. I think Paul Rudd's a little too pure for it, but we don't really see that dark side of Paul Allen. He just kind of seems more of like an idiot. And I
Yeah.
think Paul Rudd could pull off a yuppie idiot pretty well.
True.
I kind of understand.
He pulls off a yuppie idiot in Parks and Rec. Bobby Newport Jr.
Yeah.
So true. Okay, you're
If
right.
he
You're
did a
right.
portrayal like
Be
that
Bobby
in this
Newport
movie,
as Paul Allen.
yeah, it'd be so jarring in a different way if he played that same kind of vibe in this movie that I'd actually really like to see that.
Yeah.
For me, for this, I had, similar to you said, Val, another vice president slash kind of work friend of Christian Bale's character. But then I thought about it because, like you guys said too, he's kind of too pure for this role, and he'd feel kind of out of place. I like Connor's suggestion a lot. And then what I also thought of as well was, I know in this movie Patrick Bateman only sleeps with women, and Lewis comes on to him at one point, and you can tell he's not about it. If Patrick Bateman's character was also interested in men, I feel like Paul Rudd could have played like a man he picked up, maybe a female prostitute, something like that. It has that innocent energy. Paul Rudd of around 2000 would have looked young, been very innocent feeling. That's kind of the vibe you get from the other 2 prostitutes. I mean, they obviously they feel out of place, etc. I feel like he could have been this young, more innocent, unassuming, kind of potentially even funny if needed, because there's those little spots of humor in this movie. I feel like he could have pulled off something like that.
Okay.
Well,
I
don't
like
just
it.
stare at it. Eat it.
Ugh,
He said that, it's like, what?
Yeah, I'm like, please, that whole scene. I'm like,
All these lines like, Val, why do you love this movie?
again, it's more. Like I stated, it's more complicated than that.
Next time we all go out to eat and you're eating, Val, I'm gonna say that when your food comes, and you're just like, nope, I can't eat this now.
No, I'm gonna be like, I've lost my appetite in every single way. I'm done. Alrighty. Next up, we have our drive-in double feature. So this would be what movie you would pair this with at the drive-in and why. I have a couple of suggestions for this one. I feel like kind of going along with like similar themes of like a man slowly losing touch with reality and kind of putting others in danger would be either The Shining or Taxi Driver. I thought you kind of slowly watch somebody like lose it. Obviously Patrick Bateman was already crazy when we start this, but you do see him go on a deeper spiral as the movie goes on, and I think we see that similarly with in Taxi Driver and The Shining for different reasons. Also, the Taxi Driver also takes place in New York City, so it gets kind of like that his disgust with the city. It's not that Patrick Bateman is disgusted by the city per se, but by like kind of some of the people in it. So I think it kind of fits the bill there a little bit. And then also I think in terms of the themes of like the greed and materialism and superficiality, I think The Wolf of Wall Street would be a good pair with this. It's a little bit more lighthearted, no murder. It still has some complicated themes, obviously, but I think that would be like start with American Psycho, end with The Wolf of Wall Street. What do you guys think? What do you think, Connor?
I have 2 as well. I just wanted to say I really do like the Wolf of Wall Street comp there. It'd be a very long double feature stretch, but
Oh yeah.
I do like that as 2 kind of Dark Side of Wall Street movies. I chose Me, Myself, and Irene. Came out the same year. It's a lighter comedy, going to be kind of a palate cleanser. Jim Carrey instead of Patrick Bateman there. Severe mental illness as a theme, but definitely played for more laughs in Me, Myself, and Irene as American Psycho. And my second choice would be Vice, getting another kind of deranged Christian Bale role just several years later.
I like it.
I'm going to be honest. I did not have an answer or a serious answer for this one. As a joke, I was going to say Glory Road just because I had Glory Road on my mind from earlier and I really want to watch that movie now.
Sweet Home Alabama.
Yeah, there you go. But I really love both your suggestions of Wolf of Wall Street and Vice. Once Val said Wolf of Wall Street, I then also thought of Vice in that same vein before you said it, Connor. I think both those are really great. I think Wolf of Wall Street would be really cool to pair it with. Even though it's not Christian Bale like Vice, the themes, the similarities you were highlighting, I think that'd be a cool overlap, but in a much done in a much different way.
Yeah. All right. Next up and lastly of all of our categories, if you had a popcorn bucket sold at the theater, what would it be for this movie? Matthew, did you have anything for this one?
This was tough. I wasn't really sure. I just envisioned something where you have a normal popcorn bucket and around the side looks like, or maybe you can actually make it a real thing where draped, maybe attached at the top of like where the metallic rim is, like kind of coming out of that is like a see-through like raincoat like he has, and have kind of like red splotches on it or something. And maybe underneath that have pictures of like the food in the opening scene. For some reason, I think just someone who just loves food, I love that opening images of the food.
Yeah.
And I was really hungry. So I feel like some combo of like that together.
That's really funny you said that too, because I did not think you were going to like this movie. But when I was picturing you watching this movie, I really thought you would like the opening scene. I really thought is that blood? Oh no, it's like a fancy food plating. Yeah. I thought you'd really like that, but I didn't think you'd enjoy the rest of the movie.
It's all downhill from there.
It got dark fast.
Yeah.
My popcorn bucket is so similar to yours. I put just a very normal popcorn bucket, just splattered with blood. Like just the kind of striped popcorn bucket like they would sell at any theater, but just splattered with blood.
I like it. I have basically a completely plain popcorn bucket, but in bone white. And it would say American Psycho in raised lettering, and just to mimic his business card. And that's it. Just plain empty feeling because he's empty.
Vice president.
It's it could say vice president of Pearson Pierce of mergers and acquisitions. So it could say that, but I truly feel like just American Psycho in bone white raised lettering. That's it. Just
you do
plain and simple, empty like Patrick Bateman's soul.
You do a whole collectible popcorn bucket series, which the only variation between each bucket is a different vice president's name on it. And the white background is slightly different compared to whatever each person had differently.
Yeah. I really like the business card wrapped around. I like that. That's very clever.
All right. So that just about wraps it up for all of our categories, but I do have a couple of kind of open discussion, like conversation type of things that I wanted to get everyone's take on. So first of all, obviously, I think it's I know, Matthew, you're kind of like new to this movie, but basically in general, like it's been like a common conversation surrounding this movie of what was real, what wasn't. Did Patrick Bateman really commit all of these crimes? So I wanted to see what you guys kind of thought, what your take was on the ambiguous ending. And I will start with you, Matthew, just because I was your first watch and I'm curious to see if you thought that like it was all in his head, or if some of the things happened, or if everything happened, just kind of what you think about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I had no clue about the ambiguous ending until the ending, where I feel like a lot of movies that pull off that type of ending have a lot of like little nuggets or red herrings along the way to kind of make you, oh, wait, which way is this going? Kind of cluing on it. For me, I don't know if I just didn't pay enough attention or just was viewing it differently, but I had no idea that ending was going to happen. Right before that final part where he's talking to the lawyer, and the lawyer's like, "What are you talking about? I had dinner. I dined with Paul Allen twice in London last week." I thought, oh yeah, this guy for sure did it. So that threw me off. The one thing that still gets me is when he went to Paul Allen's old apartment, it was being painted over and sold and everything. The fact that was all happening and they moved in so quickly makes me think like, oh, it was all in his head. But she was like really skeptical of him. So I lean towards I want to say I think he did it, but the ending, obviously leaves it up in the air. But I'm leaning towards I think he actually committed the murders. And also, I know it's based on a book. I don't know if the book answers this question or not. I know the book's also different in certain regards, but that's how I'd lean.
To speak directly to the apartment showing, I think it's commonly perceived as those murders, that apartment was torn up and had murders and blood and crazy things written on it, but she or other people covered that up to kind of protect the property value. It's like no one would stand to benefit from those crimes being committed, but everyone stands to benefit from those crimes being covered up. So him kind of frantically behaving in that place kind of triggered her, realized that he had something to do with maybe why it was so messed up. Yeah. But she couldn't confront him about it because she was probably associated with some sort of a cover-up. Because if you say, oh my God, like 8 bodies were discovered in this apartment, then that apartment doesn't hold the same value. And that just goes with that theme that so many people are in on this cover-up because it's convenient for their own lives. Mm-hmm. For the longest time, I really lived with the idea that some of these things happened and some of these things didn't. On the minor end, I feel like he definitely killed the homeless man no matter what. I feel like that's like a guarantee. But I used to think some of the murders of like his coworkers and some of the hookers, that wasn't real, that was kind of more in his head. Now I'm starting to lean towards that a lot of those murders did really happen. And the only thing that didn't happen was the big theatrical shootout at the end, with the cars blowing up and just the publicly killing people. I don't think that happened. I think that was just like his mask of sanity was truly slipping off at that point. I really don't think that happened. And the only other one that I'm unsure if it actually happened or not is the chainsaw death, the chainsaw murder, where he's running around naked, screaming. She's banging on all these other doors, and he perfectly drops the chainsaw to kill her. That one feels so far-fetched that I don't believe that happened. So I think that's where I'm personally at now, is that he did kill all the people we watched. All of his confessions, for the most part, were true, but I don't believe the chainsaw murder happened, and I don't believe that big crazy shootout in the end happened.
Mm-hmm. It's a good point about chasing the lady around, because she banged on all the doors, and I'm like, why is no one coming out? He's running out naked, covered in blood. All this stuff's happening.
Yelling, screaming. She's screaming.
Yeah, and then the perfect chainsaw drop on top of her. I was like, "There's no way," and I'm just like, "All right."
Mm-hmm. Like that's a delusional fantasy, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I completely agree with you, Connor. I do not agree with like it was all in his head theory, which is like a very popular interpretation of this movie's ending. Because I think a lot of people, they see things like that whole final sequence with like the ATM obviously did not tell him to feed it a cat, and like he did not shoot one bullet and have things explode. Like those type of things like did not happen. Clearly, I think that was just in there to show that he was on the brink of losing it, or he is actively losing it. I think also, if you look back like throughout the entire movie, like he is actively taking medication. So it's like obviously, aside the point that he's a literal serial killer, it's like he does have mental illnesses. Like he's got some things going on. Also, is that an appearance from Lyra that I
It is an
see?
appearance from Lyra.
Hi, Lyra.
Hello, Lyra.
She's now camera shy. She's not walking away.
But yeah, I agree, Connor. I think that the whole movie would be like the whole point of the movie would like unravel and like wouldn't make sense if he didn't do any of these crimes, because I think that the point is to show that it would defeat the purpose that 1980s Wall Street yuppie culture is so superficial and self-absorbed that you can literally get away with murder. I think that's what they're trying to show, is that it is, these men are able to do whatever the hell they want, and they're going to get away with it. And like, that's
What do
kind of the
they
point.
benefit from highlighting this other person's delusions? Like,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
stand to lose
exactly.
more than they would gain if they were like, Patrick murdered all these people.
Right.
It's like they would rather just cover it up and continue living their egotistical lives.
Exactly. And if you look back like throughout kind of like a lot of the reasons like why it works that he is able to commit these murders is obviously they make a huge point to show that all of these men look the same. They all act the same. They all have similar apartments. They all
confuse each other's
yes,
names.
they confuse each other's names. No one knows each other's name. They constantly get everyone's name wrong. No one knows who Patrick Bateman is the entire movie. They all constantly call him by the wrong name, and they always say that Patrick Bateman, like doofus or whatever, like he's a real jackass. Like they're always like talking shit about Patrick Bateman to him because they don't know it's him. And everyone does it. It's not just him.
But is he actually Patrick Bateman? Is even the
well,
lawyer is calling him a different name?
Well, I think that just is emphasizing the fact that like they're all the same. They all don't commit each other to memory because they all look the same and act the same, and they're all doing the same job. They all have the same title, everything. And I think again, they're all incredibly selfish. They are all up their own asses. It's the 80s, also less security footage, cell phones, that type of stuff is not as prevalent. Everyone is on drugs. It's New York City. There's a million people. And I think all of these things kind of create like a perfect environment for him to commit these crimes. And I think obviously we're talking about Patrick Bateman's crimes, but also it creates the perfect environment for anyone to commit any crime, which they did on Wall Street. So I think like it really does like emphasize how like the superficiality and self-absorption of 1980s Wall Street yuppie culture like really allows you to get away with anything. It creates the perfect storm. And yeah, I think he's extremely mentally ill. Some of the things happened, some of the things didn't. We can debate all day long, but it almost doesn't even matter, because whether he did or didn't do these things, he's gonna get away with it. And I think that's the point of like,
he is unwell and he will get away with it.
And he will get away with it. And honestly, I don't even think he wants to continue living like this. Like he confessed he wanted to get out of it. He wanted to be done with it. He's clearly unwell. And I think like he was just so in shock when he realized that like, oh my God, I just confessed to all these things and no one cares. He talks about serial killers all the time and no one cares. It's like he really can.
I love that.
It's like everyone's like,
I wonder
who
what
are
her
you
head
talking
would
about?
look like on a spike, and they're like, "What?"
They're like, okay.
I had meant to mention that during the favorite quotes, because he says that and he goes ha ha ha, and he's like fake laugh.
Yeah, they're like, okay, whatever, Bateman.
Yeah.
I do want to just ask, what do you think? Do you think he actually killed Paul Allen? Because there's two pieces of evidence that he didn't, and we mentioned before is the scene right after the death. He drags the body through the lobby, and there's the blood trail, and then when the camera cuts the other way, there is no blood trail. And is that a metaphor for like how things are quickly covered up? Then he's shoving the body in the car, and someone witnesses it and asks him where he got the bag, where it seemed very obvious that he was hauling a body into that car. And then the third piece of evidence is the lawyer claiming that he had dinner with him. Now, is that the lawyer either lying because that would catch him in a lie? If he didn't have dinner with Paul Allen, that would be him, lying about his level of status. Or did he have dinner with someone else that he thought was Paul Allen? There's a lot of confusion surrounding what actually happened to Paul Allen. And you do think he was actually killed. What do you think
I
of those little nuggets of evidence?
Yeah, I think Paul Allen was killed. I mean, the Willem Dafoe's character, he's investigating the disappearance of Paul Allen.
Correct.
So, like, obviously that could still be in his head too, whatever, but like I absolutely do think that he did kill Paul Allen. I think the fact that the blood smear went away, like you said, that's honestly a good observation. It's just a metaphor for how quickly these things get cleaned up. Like maybe it wasn't actually cleaned up. I think it could just be the metaphor of the fact that, like, yeah, he's just dragging this body through the hallway. No one cares. Literally, it's not a big deal. It's gonna go away and they're gonna mop it up. It's gonna be fine. And then the fact that he's hauling this body into the trunk, that guy is such a doofus. Like
That guy was a doofus.
that guy was an absolute idiot. Like he was absolutely it just, that to me further emphasizes the fact that, like, oh, here's a man who is disheveled and carrying a bag shaped like a body, and I'm only worried about what designer his bag is. It's just furthering I think the lawyer part. I do think that personally, I think he just got his name confused. He got Patrick Bateman's name confused, so he didn't even know who he was.
Yeah,
I think
fair.
I think all of those things are just things to emphasize how shitty and toxic the culture is. I don't think that they're there to like pick apart whether he did or didn't kill Paul Allen, but again, whether he did
I think
or
the
didn't.
blood trail is the one that
Yeah,
still has me
that
to
one,
this
and that
day,
one I
to this
kind of
moment.
like. Yeah, that one I
'Cause
kind of
he's
almost
an
like
unreliable
ignored.
narrator.
Yeah.
So was he just bringing a suitcase down and in his head he just killed this man? And
Yeah.
when you look over his shoulder and there's no blood trail and no one bats an eyebrow, like, did he actually kill him, or did he actually go to London and that was just a fantasy of his, that he was so obsessed with Paul Allen having the reservations at Dorsia and having a better business card, that was just his delusional fantasy of killing him.
Yeah. I guess we'll never know.
Maybe it
Guess
was
not.
actually Evelyn's the killer. And she only keeps Patrick Bateman around because she knows he's insane and will think that he did it, and she can frame
like
him
it.
for it.
I like it.
I solved it.
You solved everything. Also, Evelyn is so
That's me.
funny. Evelyn
She is.
she's hilarious. She's like, he tries to break up with her. She totally ignores him. She's
Yeah.
like, but anyways,
He's
like,
doodling
whatever.
a murdered person.
I know. I'm like,
confessing crimes, and she's just ignoring it.
The question I had in my notes was, why does Evelyn like Patrick? Why are they together?
status
Status.
And that's
only.
honestly, yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't actually like Patrick. Any guy would have done just fine. Like any guy
Yeah.
that worked at Pearson Pierce.
Paul
They're
Allen
cheating
would
on
agree.
each other with each other's.
Yeah.
And
Best friend. Yeah,
they're all
exactly.
the
Like the
same.
whole, they're all the same. And I think that's why it's so funny to show that like she had clear signs that there was something wrong with him. The fact that literally, she asked him, I forgot what she asked. She asked him why he even worked there. And he was like, just to fit in. It's like hilarious. It's like that's an insane answer if you ask someone why they work somewhere. But yeah, so I don't know. I guess we'll never know if he actually killed Paul Allen or not, but he definitely did kill some people. That is according to director Mary Herron. She did say he did kill people. Like that is a fact.
Yeah.
It's just overall he's just delusional. So he may or may not have done some of the things, but he did kill people. All right. So one other kind of thing I wanted to talk about is the idea of this movie and so many other movies being misunderstood, like completely. I think I don't know, Matthew, if you've kind of like come across this or have heard of this, but like this movie has been like kind of like romanticized by like your average, I know, by like your average like frat boy like type of thing. Like, of course they romanticize literally every horrible character, but that's kind of what I wanted to ask about is like what other movie or TV shows or characters have a deeper meaning and messaging that people just fully ignore and they romanticize them. And I have a huge, well, not a huge, but I have a decent list, and I can name a couple to like get us started, but I don't know if you have any thoughts about like other characters or movies or shows that like people just miss the point completely and they end up romanticizing the character because they're either wealthy or good looking or they have a cool storyline. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, one that comes immediately to mind is Wolf of Wall Street. That's such
Yeah.
while a good movie, I feel like every man in college loved that movie. That's such a
Yep.
frat bro type of movie. Oh, this movie's awesome. Like Leonardo DiCaprio, the character of Jordan Belfort, it's so great. Like, they like kind of idolize that
Yes.
crazy life, and I'm just like, no, you shouldn't be doing that. So I feel like that one comes to mind because we already talked about it. But otherwise, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. But immediately, I was like, yeah, people just they kind of wanted that lifestyle. It's like, no, you really don't.
Yep.
Mhm. I
Exactly.
think of the big three dorm posters, and that would be a Jordan Belfort, Wolf of Wall Street, Patrick Bateman, American Psycho, and Scarface. And out of the three of those, I think this movie does the best job making that lifestyle look bad.
Yeah.
I think the criticisms land in a cleaner way in this movie than Wolf of Wall Street, where I know it wasn't the goal to glorify it, but the movie does glorify it a little bit. Same with Scarface, where it's this grand glorification of it. But I also find it really interesting that both those other movies, even Henry Hill in Goodfellas is another
Mhm.
one where
Yeah.
it's super fun and we're along with the ride. But when we take Wolf of Wall Street, Scarface, and Goodfellas, all three of those main characters died or went to prison or witness protection. Where this movie, I think, nails the criticism the best, but he gets away with it in the end. And
Yeah.
you can even take that to TV with anti-heroes of HBO, to your Tony Soprano, your Walter White, a lot of those ones. I mean,
Don't forget Don Draper.
Don Draper,
You
which I
can't
haven't
forget
finished
Mad
Mad
Men.
Men yet, but I mean, without spoiler alert for all of these, I mean, they die or go to prison in the end of all of these for the most part,
Mhm.
but glorify that lifestyle on its path to get there. Where I just think this movie uniquely stands apart from the rest of those, where it truly does nail the isn't what these characters are doing, saying, how they're living, isn't that disgusting? But then Patrick Bateman gets away with it in the end, like none of those other movies or shows do.
I will say, technically, he gets away with it, in the fact that he doesn't get caught, doesn't go to jail, etc. But I feel like he's all the worse off for it, though.
Yeah.
Where he's like still so clearly tortured. One, because I feel like by the end, it almost seems like he kind of wants to get caught in a way.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
also his kind of main goal is he wants to like figure out who he is, and he hasn't. He's even like more confused in a way and kind of more spinning out and on the deep end at the end. So I feel like in a way he really doesn't get away with it because he's more tortured.
That's very fair.
Yeah. Connor, I think you make a really great point about how American Psycho does such a good job at like not glorifying this, which is why it's so crazy to me that it's so misunderstood of a movie, because it's like, did you guys even watch the movie? It's
People are stupid. So
I know, and that actually I have another point about that too. But Connor, I literally wrote like the exact same thing down as you, how like American Psycho did such a good job at this because they do not really humanize any of the people in it. Where I think in all of these shows with the TV antiheroes, it's like Tony Soprano is like that the point of the entire show is the human like soft side, the mentally ill side of somebody who's supposed to be this like tough like macho person. It's like, no, they have real human problems. Same with Walter White. It's like we explore so many things about like his psyche in that show. And same with Don Draper. That's what the entire show of Mad Men is about. And I think like we really get to kind of like know and love them as people despite the crazy horrible things that they do. Whereas like in American Psycho, not a single character has any redeeming quality or they're not even human. Like Patrick Bateman, again, like he said, he's literally not even human. He's empty. And we don't learn anything about his backstory. We don't know anything about his relationships other than the shallow ones that he has. We don't know anything about his childhood. We don't know anything about anything. And I think that really allows it to like protect the fact or protect the message that like some people are just cold and messed up and that's just how it is. And I think it's almost like good that they didn't explore why he is the way he is, because that's just not what the movie's about. And I like that,
Yeah.
where I think a lot of other that again, which is why I'm so confused why people idolize him, because this movie does such a good job at making it really hard to do that.
Because he's rich and handsome.
I guess, but that's like actually like, and that, okay, that brings me to my next point, which it kind of like begs the question, like, do movies and shows like have a responsibility to not glorify these stories, which again I don't think they are, but like, or are people just stupid and it's their own fault for not having media literacy skills? It's like, should the Wolf of Wall Street not have been so cool, or are people dumb? Like, you know what I mean?
People are dumb.
Yeah, I think people are dumb. In the past, I would have said, in a lot of cases, I would say certain people, organizations, whatever, have a responsibility. But also, this is art, and people are making
True.
art. Art is subjective. It's, the eye of the beholder. And maybe they left it to be subjective to others. Maybe they created this to be interpreted a specific way, but people missed the mark and they didn't have media literacy, like you guys are saying, or they're just dumb and they couldn't interpret it. That's not the creator's fault. So there's certain cases in life where I feel like people have a responsibility with this kind of stuff, but in this medium and with this kind of story, I feel like they don't have a responsibility, and I place that solely on the people that took this movie a certain way and ran with it.
Yeah, the responsibility is to entertain.
Yeah.
I don't think it's to virtue signal or lay out a clear-cut morality path. And I mean, all the movies that we just talked about are like iconic movies, despite their misinterpretation by a small percentage of people. I don't buy into the they have a responsibility to make this look more. And I know you're not arguing for that point.
Yeah,
but
no, I agree with you guys.
I don't buy that. Right? I don't buy that whatsoever. I would prefer the art to be the filmmaker's decision, their vision. And I mean, I love The Wolf of Wall Street. I'm sure we'll talk about it on here a little more in future episodes. I think it's a great movie. I don't knock it for making things look so cool. And if someone just wants to interpret it their own way, that's on them, and that's a them issue. But keep making this art. It's entertaining stuff, and I'll keep coming back to it and watching it over and over again.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think with a lot of these movies that are misunderstood, I truly do feel that people either didn't watch the whole movie, they maybe watched the beginning part when everything is all fun and exciting. It's like the beginning stages of like getting wealth or trying new drugs or whatever, like all these things, like before they really like have devastating consequences. I think people either just like tune out or like they just like don't care once the movie keeps going. And again, that's on our short attention spans as a generation, but people have always misunderstood movies. So
yeah, that path of it going from like an aspirational tale before it turns into a cautionary tale is that
exactly.
like moment where people like to ignore, that Henry Hill looking up at the helicopters and Scarface, about to get shot up at the end, or any of the TV shows, movies that we just listed, the FBI raiding Stratton Oakmont. I mean, they all meet their comeuppance, but this one is special in that way that the movie despises the culture that it's showing, where the other ones kind of give you a taste of why it's so enticing before it crumbles apart.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, any other thoughts or anything else that you guys wanted to add in to this final section of the podcast?
I think I just had a quick
go ahead,
note or two. While watching this, I realized Patrick Bateman, obviously serial killer, misogynist, not anti-Semitic. He makes it clear. He makes it clear really early on that he's like, whoa, he's like, you can't say that about like our colleague or whoever it is. It's
cool
like,
it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Yeah. That's where he draws the line. Not the murder, not the misogyny, anti-Semitism.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I don't think he gives a shit. I think that is just his way of elevating himself above his group of people.
True.
When he does that whole oh, I'm concerned about the apartheid and we need to, feed the
Yeah.
homeless. And all of that is just virtue signaling to his
That's a good
peers
point.
where they're kind of being macho and oh, I don't give a shit about all that stuff. And Patrick Bateman just needs to one up his peers by being the one who cares. And like, if it just gives him that edge, if it just puts him one notch above the
Yep.
people around him, he'll do it. And I think that's the only basis for his cool it with the anti-Semitism is just to feel holier than thou by one notch compared to the guy next to him.
It's a shame
Yeah,
he's
that
a
makes
serial
sense.
killer because he's so well read on
He
like world
does.
events, pop culture. This
I
guy
know.
knows so much.
Yeah.
Right.
He just wants to fit in.
He's just talking about Whitney Houston for like minutes on end.
Yeah. Anything else?
I just wanted to highlight a couple of the menu items that were mentioned in different scenes. We've got squid ravioli and lemongrass broth. Arugula Caesar salad actually sounds way more disgusting when you think about it.
Yeah.
Swordfish meatloaf with an onion marmalade.
Swordfish meatloaf is crazy.
Yeah.
Rare roasted partridge breast.
Interesting.
Rare
I don't think
poultry.
you're supposed to have rare poultry.
Yeah.
Peanut butter soup with smoked duck. Sea urchin ceviche. Haven't tried that one. Cilantro crawfish gumbo. Pork loin with lime jello. And my all-time favorite, mud soup.
It's kind of funny though because those like yeah we're laughing at these things but like I guarantee you like in like the world of like fine culinary arts like I guarantee you that those are actual all legitimate things but it's they sound hilarious and it's
They're
so
just
funny.
completely making fun of pretentious food culture and
Yeah.
just by taking it up that extra degree and just
I love mud soup.
pushing it to absurd weirdness.
That's so funny.
Oh, they all sound awful.
I know. The only one that like maybe is like the gumbo. I'm like I could try that
Yeah.
if I had to.
I don't have that cilantro tastes like soap gene out, and I like crawfish, so yeah, that one doesn't sound bad, but I'm gonna pass on the mud soup and peanut butter soup.
Yeah. I'll also pass on those. All right. Anything else before we wrap up for the night? It's getting late. I feel like we're all tired, so we could probably wrap up.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
Alrighty. Well, thanks everyone for listening. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Popcorn in the Face. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you're following us on Instagram at Popcorn in the Face Pod for episode updates, behind the scenes content, and all of our movie opinions. New episodes will be available on Wednesdays on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, so be sure to hit subscribe so you never miss one. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.